من هؤلاء السلف؟ هم الصحابة والتابعون لهم بإحسان وأئمة المسلمين كالإمام أحمد بن حنبل ومالك والشافعي وأبي حنيفة وسفيان الثوري والأوزاعي وغيرهم من أئمة المسلمين.
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا وسيئات أعمالنا، من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. أما بعد. So last week then we were on the section ما يفسد الصوم ويوجب الكفارة, the section regarding what are the things that invalidate your fast, they break your fast, and you have to do an expiation, meaning you have to make the day up or do other things to make up for that day. The obvious one we spoke about last time is eating or drinking on purpose. If somebody eats or drinks on purpose, then obviously your fast has become invalid for that day and is broken for that day. But if somebody eats or drinks forgetfully, they genuinely forgot and they ate or drank, then does that break their fast? That does not break their fast. Hadith of Abu Hurairah radiyallahu anhu, Man akala aw shariba, the one who eats or drinks nasiyan, forgetfully, then that individual, it says in the hadith, فَلْيُتِمَّ صَوْمَهُ فَإِنَّمَا أَطْعَمَهُ اللَّهُ وَسَقَاهُ. Then he completes his fast because Allah has given him that rizq, that sustenance and that provision. So if you forgetfully eat and drink, it doesn't break your fast, you carry on. But if you do it on purpose, then obviously that invalidates your fast. So then the next section it says, أو احتقنا. And we touched upon this briefly last time. Taking injections. الاحتقان وهو إدخال الأدوية عن طريق الدبر وهو معروف لا يزال يعمل. This, what they call, I think, the suppositories, those medicines that are taken via the anal route. We mentioned that last time, and how some scholars, they say it breaks your fast and some do not. Shaykh Ibn Uthaymīn mentioned it does not. And then within that came the general discussion of other types of injections. Injections break your fast if they have a nutritional value to them. If there is some kind of nutritional value in that injection, then it breaks your fast. But if there is no nutritional value to it, then it does not break your fast. And giving a blood sample. Maybe the doctor wants to take a blood sample from you. If it's a minor amount of blood, then that does not break your fast. But if he has to take a significant amount of blood out from you, then that would break your fast. Then after that, أو اقتحل بما يصل إلى حلقه, using the kuhl, like the eyeliner kind of thing, that black kind of eyeliner that a person can wear, the kuhl, using that would break your fast if after using it, some of that substance, it filters through to your throat. And it is possible via the eyes into the body, and you feel a taste of something different in your throat. If something filtered through after using it on your eyes, that kind of liner on your eyes, or some type of cream on your eyes, or some type of eye drops in your eyes, if anything filtered through and you felt a taste in your throat, then that can be one of the invalidators of the fast. However, Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Uthaymīn says, لا يفطر ولو وصل طعم الكحل إلى الحلق وهذا هو الصحيح. The correct opinion on that is, though, if you use the kuhl, like the black eyeliner, or I'm talking about the men, that is something the men can use too, and cream or eye drops or things like that, and you end up experiencing some type of change in the taste in your throat, something has filtered through to change the taste of your throat, Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Uthaymīn says that does not break your fast. As Shaykh al-Uthaymīn says, that is the correct opinion. Then, أو أدخل إلى جوفه شيئا من أي موضع إن كان غير إحليله. فلو أن إنسانا أدخل منظارا إلى المعدة حتى وصل إليها فإنه يكون بذلك مفطرا. Again, these are opinions in fiqh. There is an opinion in fiqh that, sometimes they put a camera down your throat. They need to check some issues with you. They may put a camera down your throat all the way to your stomach. Some of the scholars, they say, if that camera is put down and it goes all the way to your stomach, it breaks your fast. Because now you've put something into your stomach. However, what appears to be the correct opinion, as Shaykh al-Uthaymīn, he says, أنه لا يفطر. It doesn't break your fast. إلا أن يكون في هذا المنظار دهن يصل إلى المعدة بواسطة هذا المنظار فإنه يكون بذلك مفطرا. It doesn't break your fast if that happens. If the camera goes down all the way into your stomach, that wouldn't break your fast. Unless they have to use sometimes maybe some lubricant on the camera, on that wire that they send down your throat. If there is some type of lubricant they put on it to take it down, to check your stomach and your inners with that camera they put down, then obviously that lubricant or cream comes off inside in your stomach, then that would break your fast. Because now something has gone into your stomach and stayed there. It's in the equivalent meaning of food. So that would break your fast like that, but just the camera being put in there with nothing else and coming out wouldn't break your fast. أو استقاء. The next issue here, it says, from those things that break your fast, if somebody purposely makes themselves vomit. If you purposely make yourself vomit. And there is a hadith, or there are some narrations about that. The Prophet ﷺ mentioned, Man dhara'ahu al-qay fala qada'a alayh wa man istaqa'a fa'alayhi al-qada'. That whoever is overcome by vomit, and you end up vomiting. You can't help it. You're feeling sick and you end up vomiting. Then that doesn't break your fast. If you're just feeling really unwell and you can't help it, you end up vomiting. That doesn't break your fast. You can carry on fasting if you're capable and well enough, and it counts. But the one who makes himself vomit on purpose, that breaks your fast. Because sometimes when a person is not feeling well, some kind of stomach problem, when you vomit and get rid of that, you actually feel better afterwards. So maybe sometimes a person may feel so bad they just want to vomit. They want to get it out. So they maybe do something to instigate that vomit. Maybe they physically with their finger poke it into their throat to make themselves vomit. Or maybe they look at something disgusting that makes them vomit. Maybe they do that on purpose. Or they go and smell something disgusting on purpose that makes them vomit. So if a person does any of those kinds of things, looking at something disgusting that the sight of it makes them vomit, or smelling something disgusting that makes them vomit, or physically with their finger or something they poke their throat to make themselves vomit, then that would break your fast and you have to make up that day afterwards. But if you don't do any of that, you're just feeling so bad you can't help it, you end up vomiting without any choice, then that doesn't break your fast. In one narration it mentions in the Sunan of At-Tirmidhi and Abu Dawood and Ibn Majah and the Musnad of Al-Imam Ahmad, Man istaqa'a amdan falyaqdi wa man dhara'ahu al-qay fala qada'a alayh. Whoever makes himself vomit on purpose, then make up that day. And whoever is overcome by vomit, they're just overwhelmed, feeling sick, couldn't help it, they vomited, then they don't have to make up that day. The next item that breaks your fast, أو استمنى, the act of masturbation, أي طلب خروج المني بأي وسيلة حتى أنزل فإن صومه يفسد بذلك. So that action, through whatever means, if that action is undertaken and the individual releases the fluids, then that breaks your fast. That invalidates your fast. So that is the release of those fluids through whatever means that a person engages in, whatever means are utilized, then the release of that fluid occurs, then that breaks the fast. أو باشر فأمنى. Or, so the first one was through the practice of whatever form of masturbation that breaks the fast, impermissible. And secondly, through foreplay. If an individual engages in intimacy between himself and his wife, and that leads to the release of fluids, then that also breaks the fast. أو أمذى. اختلفوا في المذي على قولين. Or if he releases the fluid that exits prior to the semen, if that exits, then there is a difference of opinion on that. Some scholars, they say that breaks your fast too, the pre-seminal fluid, and others they say no, it does not. Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Uthaymīn says it does not break the fast. Then he says, أو حجم أو احتجم وظهر دم. This is now the issue of cupping. This is the next item that breaks your fast or invalidates your fast. The act of cupping. Cupping is where they use suction to withdraw, to take out some of the blood from your body. They will make small cuts and then they use suction cups to suck out some of the blood from your body. Cupping. That, according to one opinion of the scholars, breaks your fast also. Whether you are the one doing it for someone or you are the one having it done to you. Whether you are the one doing it for someone or you are the one having it done to you. That breaks your fast according to some of the scholars. And the evidence for that is the hadith of Shaddad ibn Aus radiyallahu anhu, where it mentions how on one occasion مر النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم برجلين بالبقيع. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam walked past two men in Baqi', the graveyard, and one of them was cupping the other one. One of them was cupping the other one. So the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said to them, "Aftara al-hajim wal-mahjum." The Prophet said, both of you, the one doing the cupping and the one getting it done to him, both of you, your fasts are broken. Aftar al-hajim wal-mahjum. Both of your fasts are broken. The one doing the cupping and the one getting it done to him. However, this issue does have a difference of opinion in it. Shaykh Ibn Uthaymīn says, this narration where the Prophet said to both of them, your fasts are broken, هذا الحديث ضعفه بعض أهل العلم، فمن ضعفه فإنه لا يستدل به لأنه لا يجوز الاحتجاج بالضعاف على أحكام الله عز وجل. So some of the scholars, they consider this narration to be weak. And so they don't accept this narration that the Messenger said to them, your fasts are broken. And so they say cupping is perfectly okay. It doesn't break your fast. And that is actually the majority of the scholars. The jumhur of the scholars, the majority of them say the fasting does not break if you get the cupping done. The Malikis, the Shafi'is, the Hanafis, they all say it doesn't break your fast. But Al-Imam Ahmad, rahimahullah ta'ala, has the opinion that it does break your fast. Just like Ishaq ibn Rahoya has that opinion, the Shaykh of Al-Imam al-Bukhari, and Ibn Khuzaymah has that opinion, and Ibn Uthaymīn and Ibn al-Qayyim. They all take the opinion that cupping breaks your fast. Even though on the other side, like we said, there is Al-Imam Malik, Al-Imam Shafi'i, Al-Imam Abu Hanifa who say it doesn't break your fast. So there is a difference of opinion on this issue. And one of the reasons for that is this hadith, is it authentic, is it not? Some of the scholars do not hold it to be authentic, others they do view it to be authentic. And the others who say cupping doesn't break your fast, they have other evidences too. They have a hadith in al-Bukhari that they use. احتجم النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم وهو محرم واحتجم وهو صائم. That the Messenger had the cupping done when he was in ihram, and he had the cupping done when he was fasting. However, Al-Imam Ahmad and the other scholars, they say that hadith in Bukhari, even though the original section of it is authentic, the Prophet had the cupping done when he was in ihram. They say the second part of it actually isn't correct. The second part of it is a mistake from the narrator, that the Prophet had the cupping done when he was fasting. So they have differences over this issue. The safest opinion, of course, is that a person does not get the cupping done when you're fasting. Simply do it outside of that time, outside of the day of Ramadan, in the evening, or outside of the month of Ramadan altogether, to avoid this issue, to avoid potentially breaking your fast because of it. These issues that we've mentioned there now, that break your fast, so he mentions here عَامِدًا ذَاكِرًا, that these issues, they break your fast if you do it on purpose, knowing what you're doing. Meaning, if someone does it without intent, meaning they do it forgetfully, mistakenly, without intent, then it wouldn't break your fast. Forgetfulness does not break the fast. Just like the one who eats and drinks forgetfully, then it wouldn't break his fast. Then also قوله أو مكرها، أي إذا كان مكرها فإنه لا يفطر، فيشترط أن يكون عمدا. If somebody is forced to do one of those things, somebody forces you to eat something, they put a gun to your head and they say, eat or drink right now, otherwise I'm going to put a bullet in your head. They force you, compel you to eat or drink. Then according to what the author is saying here, that wouldn't break your fast. You have no intent behind that. You are compelled and forced to do it. So in that case, the author here says that wouldn't break your fast. أو احتلم. Another thing that doesn't break your fast is if a person ends up having a wet dream. If a person ends up having a wet dream, that does not break the fast. أو أصبح فيه طعام فلفظه، أي لا يفسد صومه لأنه لم يبتلع طعاما بعد طلوع الفجر. This one says, imagine now a person, for example, has the suhoor meal, prays Fajr, and then imagine they go to sleep again. Then they wake up after a while, and when they wake up, they feel some crumbs in their mouth from suhoor time. But now they've woken up like 9 a.m. and these crumbs are still in their mouth. They've just felt them now in their teeth and it's come out from suhoor time. Is their fast broken now then or not? No, as long as they don't swallow it. Just get rid of that. Even though it's been there since before Fajr, from suhoor time, those crumbs have been in your mouth. You don't swallow them, you don't eat them, get rid of them, and your fast is okay. أو اغتسل فدخل الماء إلى حلقه فإنه لا يفطر لعدم القصد. Also, scholars, they say, if you're having a shower, for example, when you're fasting, and obviously with a shower the water is all coming down on you, and maybe accidentally something goes in through your nose or in through your mouth and you swallow a small amount completely accidentally. Accidentally, in the shower, of course, water coming down and down, and a tiny bit accidentally ends up going down your throat. That does not break your fast. that small accidental amount when you're showering or something does not break your fast. But of course, a person needs to be extra careful. Needs to be very, very careful when showering during the time of fasting, and to make sure that you do not swallow anything by accident. But if something did go down, some tiny amount by accident, then that would not break your fast, because you had no intent. Also, when you're making wudu, أو تمضمضة, part of making the wudu is to put water into your mouth and nose. Again, by doing that, if you weren't careful and a little bit of water accidentally went down your throat, that wouldn't break your fast. That small amount, if it accidentally goes down your throat when you're washing your mouth out, wouldn't break your fast. But you be careful again. أو استنثر, and also when you put the water into your nose and you suck it up and then you blow the nose out to make wudu, we know the Prophet said, بالغ في الاستنشاق إلا أن تكون صائما. Take the water right up into your nose when you're making the wudu and then blow it out. Unless, the Messenger said, unless you are fasting. Then don't suck it all the way up. When you're making wudu in Ramadan, when you're fasting, you suck it up slowly, just a little bit up, not all the way like you would normally do. You take it up gently so it doesn't go up and you swallow it by accident. But if a person still did by accident take it up too far and a little bit went down the throat, that wouldn't break your fast. So, sucking the water up too far and putting the water into the mouth too much is makruh when you're fasting. You're supposed to gently put the water in the mouth, gently into the nose, and take it easy so you don't swallow anything. It's makruh to go too heavy. Normally you are supposed to go like heavy. Normally you're supposed to put the water in the nose, mouth properly. Properly put it all in there and take it out. But in Ramadan, when you're fasting, you take it lightly. Lightly into the mouth and the nose, to be careful with that. Also, وَمَنْ جَامَعَ فِي نَهَارِ رَمَضَانَ فَعَلَيْهِ الْقَضَاء. The one who engages in actual intercourse. The one who engages in actual intercourse during the day of Ramadan breaks your fast, and you have to make that day up. وَالْكَفَّارَ, and you have to give the expiation. So if somebody falls into intercourse during the day of Ramadan, your day is gone. You're going to have to make up that day, and you're going to have to give an expiation on top, a compensation on top of making up the day. أي ويجب عليه الكفارة احتراما للزمن، وبناء على ذلك لو جامع في قضاء رمضان وليس في رمضان فالقضاء واجب وليس عليه كفارة، لأنه خارج شهر رمضان، بخلاف ما إذا كان في الشهر فعليه الكفارة. So if in the month of Ramadan, during the day, a person falls into intercourse, they have to make it up and give the kafara, and they have to give the expiation. But if, imagine outside of Ramadan, one day they were making up a day of Ramadan they had left over, and in that day they ended up falling into intercourse, they would have to make up that day again, but they wouldn't have to give a kafara, because the sanctity of that day is not the same as the sanctity of a day within Ramadan. وإن جامع دون الفرج فأنزل أو كانت المرأة معذورة أي أفطر ولا كفارة إن جامع دون الفرج كما لو جامع نعم. So if a person has intimacy in some other way, not actual intercourse, has intimacy in some other way, it is not penetrative, then in that case, the intimacy that is not penetrative, then he must make up that day, but there is no kafara that he has to give. There is no expiation that he has to give. أو كانت المرأة معذورة. If the woman was excused, if the woman, she herself allowed that to occur and was consenting of that, then upon her is to make up and also give the expiation. There is a difference about that though. There are differences over that issue, because there is a famous hadith, in fact it comes up here, ما الدليل على وجوب الكفارة, the hadith of Abu Hurairah رضي الله عنه, أن رجلا أتى رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم فقال هلكت. In this hadith of Abu Hurairah, one time a man came to the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم and said to him, O Messenger, I've destroyed myself. I've ruined myself. The Messenger said, وَمَا أَهْلَكَكَ? And what has destroyed you? What has ruined you? What's ruined you? What's happened to you? قال وقعت على امرأتي في رمضان. The man said that I ended up having intercourse with my wife during the day of Ramadan. So the Messenger said to him, and this is the expiation then, the kafara, هل تستطيع أن تصوم شهرين متتابعين? Are you able to fast 2 months consecutively? قال لا. He said no. قال هل تستطيع أن تطعم 60 مسكينا? Are you able to feed 60 poor people? قال لا. The man said no. قال ثم جلس الرجل فجيء إلى النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم بالتمر. So then the man just sat down, and after a while some dates happened to be brought to the messenger. فقال خذ هذا تصدق به. The messenger said to the man, here, take these dates, go give these in charity as your expiation. Because the man couldn't do anything. He couldn't free a slave, he couldn't fast 2 months in a row, he couldn't feed 60 poor people. So in the end, when the dates came, the messenger said to him, take these dates then, go give these in charity. But then the man said, أَأَتَصَدَّقُ بِهِ عَلَى أَفْقَرْ مِنِّي يَا رَسُولَ اللَّهِ. The man said, am I supposed to go give these dates to someone poorer than myself? وَاللَّهِ مَا بَيْنَ لَابَتَيْهَا أَهْلُ بَيْتٍ أَفْقَرَ مِنِّي. The man said, by Allah, there is nobody between these 2 mountains, the 2 mountains of Medina, بَيْنَ لَابَتَيْهَا, a family poorer than mine. The man was the poorest family in Medina. So now, he couldn't free a slave. He couldn't fast 2 months in a row. He couldn't feed 60 poor people. He couldn't even give charity with these dates to anybody because he was the poorest man in Medina. So every option, he couldn't do it. Even the one about go give the dates out in charity. He said, who to? I'm the poorest person in Medina. Who can I go give charity to? So then the messenger laughed. It says in the hadith, فَضَحِكَ صلى الله عليه وسلم ثم قال أطعمه أهلك. So the Prophet laughed and said to him, go take it and feed your own family with it then. So that indicates the expiation upon the man. The man was told about those options of expiation and told to do them. He couldn't do any of them. But at what stage in the hadith did the Prophet ask him about his wife? Can she free a slave? Can she fast 2 months? Can she feed 64 people? Did the Messenger ask that in the hadith? That's why some scholars say there is no kafara upon the woman if this happens. Because the Messenger never asked about her, never mentioned her. If there was a kafara upon her, then maybe the Messenger would have mentioned her too. So some scholars say maybe that's a proof that there is no kafara upon the women. فما الدليل على وجوب الكفارة على المرأة؟ والنبي صلى الله عليه وسلم لم يذكر في هذا الحديث أن على المرأة كفارة، مع أن تأخير البيان عن وقت الحاجة لا يمكن. There is a principle in أصول الفقه: تأخير البيان عن وقت الحاجة لا يجوز. It is not permissible. The Prophet would never delay mentioning the ruling on something beyond its time of need. The Messenger would never delay clarifying a ruling beyond its time of need. Right now, this man has had intercourse with his wife. He and his wife right now need to know what the ruling is. So the Messenger would have mentioned it to him about his wife there and then. It is not permissible to delay mentioning the ruling from the moment where it is needed. Right now the man needs the ruling for himself and his wife, and the Messenger never mentioned anything about his wife. So maybe that, some of the scholars they say, is an evidence that the kafara isn't due upon the woman. الجواب أن هذا الرجل استفتى عن فعل نفسه والمرأة لم تستفتي، وحالتها يحتمل أن تكون معذورة ومكرهة وتحتمل أن تكون مطاوعة. But the other scholars they said no, that's not an evidence, because the man, he came and asked the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam about himself, his situation. As for the woman, we don't know. Maybe he forced her, so it wasn't even a fault. Maybe she wasn't even fasting. Maybe there was some reason. Maybe she wasn't feeling too well, or some reason she wasn't fasting. So then there would be no kafara upon her anyway. Maybe there was some other reason why she may have been excused. So we don't know what her situation was. So that's why the Messenger didn't give a fatwa regarding her. We don't know what her situation is. The man has come asking about his situation only. As for the woman, she needs to come with her situation and seek her fatwa with her details separately. So it's not necessarily an evidence that there is no kafara upon the woman. And then it mentions وَإِنْ جَامَعَ فِي يَوْمَيْنِ أَوْ كَرَّرَهُ فِي يَوْمٍ وَلَمْ يُكَفِّرْ فَكَفَّارَ وَاحِدَةٌ وَفِي الْأُولَى إِثْنَتَانِ. If a person falls into intercourse on 2 separate days of Ramadan, then upon him are 2 separate kafaras, 2 separate expiations. But if he falls into that intercourse twice in the same day of Ramadan, then only that 1 kafara is upon him. However, if he falls into intercourse on that day and then goes and gives the kafara, then on the same day later on he falls into intercourse again, now there is another kafara upon him. Then after that, we get to the section here, ما يكره ويستحب وحكم القضاء. The things that are makruh when you're fasting. They don't necessarily break your fast, but they are makruh, disliked actions during fasting. And also things that are mustahab, things that you should do when you're fasting. So firstly then, يكره جمع ريقه فيبتلعه. It is makruh that you get your saliva together and swallow it. When you're fasting, it is makruh to gather together your saliva in your mouth and then swallow it. Makruh to do that when you're fasting. وَيَحْرُمْ بَلْعُ النُّخَامَةِ. And according to some scholars, the kind of phlegm, sometimes it may come out of your chest. Sometimes you may just have a kind of blocked nose, and there's like phlegm, that kind of phlegm amount that you have in your throat. If you swallow that phlegm, that's obviously a lot more than your saliva. That's like a bunch, that phlegm that you swallow down. According to some scholars, that breaks your fast. According to some scholars, if you swallow that phlegm down, it breaks your fast. Because when you get that in your mouth, you can cough it out and get it out. You're supposed to cough it out and get it out. That big amount of phlegm. But according to some scholars, then if you don't do that and you swallow it, that can break your fast. Other scholars, though, they say it doesn't break your fast because that phlegm is from inside of your body in the first place. It's not something you've taken into your body. So some scholars, they say, wouldn't break your fast if you ended up swallowing that phlegm. But of course, the best thing to do then, if you have that phlegm that occurs, cough it out and get rid of it rather than swallowing it. مسألة إذا خرج دم من لسانه أو من أسنانه فهل يجوز بلعه؟ If maybe you bite your tongue by accident and some blood comes out of your tongue, or maybe you have a tooth removed and some blood comes out from that, can you swallow that blood or not? Maybe you bite your tongue by accident, a bit of blood comes out, or you had a tooth removed and some blood comes out in your mouth. Then can you swallow that blood or not? الجواب لا يجوز بلعه لا للصائم ولا لغيره. It's not permissible to swallow that blood. Generally, at any time, you're not supposed to swallow your blood. You're not supposed to drink your blood. So even if it's from a tooth or whatever, you don't swallow that blood. You're supposed to get rid of the blood at any time. You're never supposed to swallow your own blood at any time. So in fasting as well, then, it is not permissible to swallow that blood for the one who is fasting. وَيُكْرَهُ ذَوْقُ طَعَامٍ بِلَا حَاجَةٍ. It is also makruh to taste any food without a need. It is makruh to taste any food without a need. So we know for the women, for example, if they're cooking, they are allowed to just taste on their tongue how the food is that they are cooking. Maybe preparing that for iftar, etc. They can do that. But it's makruh to do it if you don't have any reason. If she knows exactly how to cook that dish and she's been doing it so many times and she never tastes it normally, then there's no need to taste it now. Cook it as you normally do and leave it, that's it. But if there is some need, you're uncertain, you're unsure, you need to check something as you're going along, then it's permissible. But if there's no need to do it, then it's makruh. Makruh to be tasting that food otherwise when there's no need to do it. Also, it is makruh for the husband and wife to kiss when fasting. And this is of course in reference to husband and wife. We're not talking about parents kissing one of their children or something, not like that, but the husband and wife. Between the husband and the wife, the scholars, they say it is impermissible or at least makruh for the husband and wife to kiss unless they are of an elderly age and there is no fear of any desire to occur. You have an elderly age and there is no age of desire now like that, then it wouldn't be a problem. But for anybody younger than that, still in an age where the desire can be aroused, then it is not permissible to kiss during the fasting. The Prophet ﷺ did kiss his wives when fasting, but Aisha radiallahu anha said he was able to control his affair more than any of you. He could control the affair, but many people they cannot. Perhaps the desire is aroused and that's why it's not permissible, unless it is Shaykhun Kabir, somebody old in age, where there is no fear of the issue of desire. And then it goes on to some more of the makruh things upon the tongue, but we'll begin those next time inshallah ta'ala. Some more of the makruhat when fasting, and then it goes on to some of the sunnah mustahab things in the suhoor, in the iftar. So we'll carry on with that section from next time inshallah ta'ala, next week at 6 p.m. and we'll stop on that for today. It's the time for the prayer. وصلى الله على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم.